Here's my audience. Today I'm going to introduce to you my boss man, as well as my dad, Ken Goff, and tell about the journey that his career took when shaping his career. He graduated high school in 1977 and had no plans but to get a job and buy a new car. But the only thing he had going for him was that his mom had told him to always do good, because good wins over evil every time. And that's the statement that pretty much shaped his career. He started out working in factories and private owned businesses, and every job he had was offered to him, so he was never unemployed, and that goes back to working hard and always doing the right thing and not taking shortcuts. But his big break came when he was offered a job as a welding distributor. He delivered big O2 tanks, which are oxygen tanks, and other welding products. His hardest place to deliver was to a home medical equipment business, where he had to deliver 4 to 6 H tanks, which are tanks about this size and weigh about 150 pounds, and they're real hard to transport. You have to kind of turn them on their side and roll them, and if you hold up against them, they get you nasty, you get real filthy, you mess up your clothes. But the business that he was delivering them to had 3 steps of very brittle brick, and if he would have set the H tank on that brick, it would have busted up their steps. He feels like these steps were the deciding factor on where his career went. Instead of being lazy, he picked up the H tanks and carried them up the steps, and he'd get his clothes all filthy while being nice to everybody inside, acting as it didn't bother him. And then a job opened up and it was offered to him. He accepted it, and he feels that if he had not took special care to not damage the business's steps, that he wouldn't have gotten a job. But he started off there as a service technician, which is a delivery boy, and he didn't know nothing about the business. But he learned everything about the business from the ground up and was a warehouse manager by the time he finished working there. While he was working there, as a side job, he was fixing oxygen concentrators, which are like little oxygen units for somebody to use in the home. And he did this for 10 years. And then the biggest company in Valdosta offered him a job running the respiratory program, where he was over 2 employees. He was only there 6 months, and the general manager quit, and they offered a job to him. He accepted the job and was now managing over 30 employees, making double what he was making working the other 2 jobs. He was controlling everything from purchasing equipment, ordering equipment, delivering and picking up equipment, and hiring and firing employees. So he's pretty much over everything on the DME side of the business. He did this job for 3 years, and during the last year, him and another manager, which was over the pharmacy department of the business, would find locations and that assess the need of medical equipment business, and they would open up new locations for that company that was working for it. They would find the location, find a building to operate, and find employees to work there, and get the business going, and then move on and repeat the process. They did this 5 or 6 times, and him and the other manager learned exactly how to do this. And then they decided they would open up their own business and go into partnership. Ken's been in business for 14 years a day and has 15 employees on his payroll, and they cover locations as far as Alabama all the way to the East Coast, North Florida and South Georgia. He still uses his mom's statement to do good over evil, because it always comes out to help the person who did good, and he works hard every day to keep his business going. And now I introduce to you a man who was a high school graduate with no plans but to get a job and buy a car, and is now a successful entrepreneur. My dad, as well as my boss man, Ken Goff. And this is my audience.